Hello, beautiful souls. I am so excited to be here with you once again. And I'm even more excited to have one of my soul sisters, dearest friends, and the woman that helped me elevate my self-nurturing practice, Kelley Grimes. Kelley is a counselor, speaker, international best-selling author. I was honored to publish her book. She's Aspire Mag's expert columnist, and she's a well-known self-nurturing expert. She's passionate, as you're about to discover, about empowering overwhelmed and exhausted individuals to live with more peace, joy, and meaning through the practice of self-nurturing. She also provides professional and leadership development to organizations dedicated to making the world a better place. She's married to an artist, has 2 empowered daughters, and loves singing with a small women's group. Kelley, thank you for being here, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much for the honor of being here. I'm so excited about this conversation.
It is such an important topic. You know, I loved your work. That's why I was so honored to publish your book, to have you sharing your wisdom in a women's magazine, because guess who needs this more than ever?
Yes.
We forget to honor our needs, don't we?
We do. We spend so much time caring for other people that we even forget that we have needs, and we stop having ongoing practices to tune into what we need and how we feel. And if we don't know what we need and how we feel, it's really hard for us to take the steps to honor our needs. So that's really the place where we end up stopping ourselves right from the beginning.
And that creates a ripple effect, right? Because if we can't honor our needs, we lose our boundaries, and we're always giving so much of ourselves that, I know it's happened to me over the years, we become resentful, but really it's our choice because we missed the critical step. Honor your needs so you can be of service to others.
Yes.
Now, what led you to discovering that that was a big struggle for many of your clients?
Well, as many times where we share forth wisdom from our own lived experience, I had a child who had chronic health challenges. And so my whole focus was really on what she needed and attending to that, and my other daughter's needs and my family's needs and my community's needs and my clients' needs. And I got to a point where I was so overwhelmed, and I literally had nothing left, that I was depressed, and got to a point where I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not living in alignment with the way that I want to be of service, because I have completely neglected myself. I've completely left myself off my own to-do list.
Yeah, I think a lot of women are going, oh, I can relate to this, because it's almost like, as women, I'll just speak for myself. It was like I picked up programming along the way that said, Linda, when you get all this stuff done, which is never possible, you can then concentrate on you. So of course, my list would always grow. So I was getting pushed further and further down. Have you noticed on your own healing journey, you must feel the energetic difference within your own body, within your own soul, now that you have processes to honor your needs?
Yes, and it was really actually I love the fact that you called it a healing journey, because that's exactly what it was. When I recognized I couldn't continue to go on the way I was, I thought, well, what would be the solution to this? Like deep despair and sense of hopelessness and disconnection with my own self that I was feeling. And I thought, oh, joy. It would be joy. If I could find ways to plug into joy every single day, I could start filling back up. So I wasn't giving from the last, drops of my cup, but I was really feeling filled up from almost like a fountain. That's how I look at it. It's like the more that was being filled up within me, the more I could give, and it regenerated itself. And so the giving really felt more from a place of service, really open-heartedness, compassion, love. It felt meaningful. The resentment faded away. The I think the limits of our own beliefs, like, I stopped doubting myself. I started feeling more connected to what I needed. And it was so much easier then, of course, to honor my needs, because I was tuning in and paying attention. I started having and developing a relationship with myself. And I think that to me is the essence of what self-nurturing is. It's not another to-do on your to-do list. It's not another thing people can say, well, are you caring for yourself? Like we do sometimes with each other. It's really cultivating a beautiful relationship with yourself so that you know what you need, you know how you feel, and therefore you can start prioritizing that in yourself in your own life.
And so what I'm hearing is like the self-nurturing, it's an inner journey because we've shut off our needs. We don't, for some of us, myself included, I wouldn't have known how to access what I need because I have become so disconnected from it. Have you found that too with your clients? Like, where do I begin? I don't even know what I need.
Absolutely. And so I think that listening, that developing some practices to listen to ourselves, to come home to ourselves, to tune in, that's part of the beginning steps of nurturing a relationship with ourselves, just like we would with someone else, right? You would, you know, ask about how they're feeling, what they need, what's important to them, what do they value? Well, that's what we can do for our own self. So in that process, starting with listening, and I use mindfulness is a beautiful practice of just paying attention on purpose with compassion and non-judgment, just tuning in, even for 2 minutes, and just, like really breathing. You might even feel your feet on the ground, so you feel connected to where you are in this moment. And then ask yourself, what is it that I'm feeling right now? Like, I'm feeling excited that I get to have this conversation with you. What do I need? Gosh, I need to be able to be as fully present as I can so that I can really feel a deep sense of connection with you and all the people that are listening to this. When we do that, then we can take the next step and say, what would be the most nurturing thing I could do? And they don't have to be huge, grand gestures, right? They don't have to be gigantic anything. They could be, oh my gosh, right now, what I need is to drink some more water. You know what I need right now is to call a friend, because I just want to be honored and have somebody reflect back for me my experience. What I need right now is to do some journaling because I'm not even sure how I'm feeling or what I need. And I need a practice of digging deeper, which could be 5 minutes. Again, it doesn't have to be extended times. If we have extended times, that's lovely. But what I really want people to know is it's an ongoing development of our relationship with ourselves. So little times throughout the day of checking in will then allow us to be more aware and to value it, right? The more I do something, the more I'm telling myself, you know what, I'm a priority. I'm important to myself. I care how I'm feeling and what I need. And that just further promotes our ability to prioritize ourselves.
And what I'm hearing too is practices. There are all these practices, right? It isn't like we're going to suddenly recalibrate overnight. Right. It's just having these moments of daily practice. And the other thing that I was hearing that comes from my own journey is I used to believe and always say, I don't have time for massage. I have my nails done and all this because I associated, I think many do, that self-nurturing is these activities to be done. But self-nurturing, because I've gotten to know you, your work over the last 7 years, is it's an inner journey. It's befriending yourself.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's why I've distinguished self-care from self-nurturing. I see more self-care like the activities that we do, but nurturing's the energy that we can bring to anything, Linda. So if we decide, we start noticing that we have an inner critic that's really, being critical and judgmental, for us to pause that and say, not right now. Like, I am doing the best I can. I made a mistake, but I'm not a mistake. That's a deeply nurturing approach to ourselves. And the more that we do those things, the more they become our belief system, the more they become the way we value ourselves and understand our worthiness. Like, I really want every single person to know, Linda, that they matter, that they have value and worth. And if we don't see our own value and worth, we can't set healthy boundaries for ourselves. We can't put ourselves on our own to-do list because we tend to then be of service as a way of feeling value. And I know I certainly have done that. Yeah, I think that's really common.
Raise our hand to say that there's been times in each of our lives where we gave thinking that what we gave was the value of who we were.
Exactly.
That's how I described it for myself. Yeah. And of course, I attracted relationships 20, 30 years ago, more than that, because I've been with Dana 29 years, that were an energetic match. So of course, the more I gave, I attracted a taker who just kept taking, but never filled me up. Is that what you mean? Like
yeah, it could be. It could be people that it could be relationships, but just in an ongoing way, even in the healthiest relationships, I think healthy boundaries are the key to that. I can't set a healthy boundary if I don't know how I'm feeling and what I need. So if I just feel like something's wrong and I don't say anything, then the other person doesn't know, right? I mean, if it's abuse, that's a different thing. But let's just say it's like, people aren't cleaning up as much in the house or whatever the thing might be. If I don't know what's really upsetting me, then I'm not going to more effectively have a conversation, right? I might react defensively, or I might be resentful and like, nobody cleans up around here. But that's not actually moving us to a healthier, more shared experience. The more tuned in I am, the more I can say, you know what? I'm actually feeling that people don't value what I'm doing because I'm the only one doing it and other people aren't contributing. Do you think you could contribute to cleaning the kitchen tomorrow? Or like I can have more direct and empowered conversations with people. And so much of the time we avoid conflict, we avoid things, but what happens is that we then put whatever our needs were below, thinking, well, our need to not be uncomfortable with the conflict is more important than the need to have the thing change, and then it doesn't ever change. So I feel like we can stay more grounded, not be as reactive and defensive the more that we're in tune with ourselves, because we can get really clear, like, oh, I'm feeling resentful because I've been cleaning the kitchen 5 days a week. Oh, I wonder if somebody else can help out.
And what I'm hearing too is, for me, resentment was a big sign for me that I wasn't honoring my boundaries. And now when I feel that, and if I feel that, it's almost like I don't react anymore, because I know that's within me of something being unmet with me. So it's like having a conversation. So I'm so glad that you're saying we have to know who we are, what we need, and that will even resentment.
Oh, definitely. And I think also what we think about ourselves comes out in everything that we do, because our mindset's really powerful. And if I trust myself, then I'm going to be more empowered to speak up for myself. I think a lot of us that take care of everyone else's needs, or we might be people pleasers. Are there any other people pleasers or former people pleasers in the room?
I'm in recovery.
Right, recovering people pleasers, because that's what we've been taught, is to really be sure everybody around us is okay, but not ourselves. And so this is what my experience has been. The more nurtured I am, the more I'm nurturing myself, the more joy I feel in service. So to me, it's not that moving this paradigm is just a paradigm of including ourselves. So it's not saying like, oh, well, now I don't take care of anybody. Oh yeah, I still do. I have grandchildren that live with me, right? I'm very engaged in lots of ways of nurturing and caring for people. But because I'm very intentional about being nurtured and cared for myself, I have an abundance to share. I'm not giving from that empty cup. And I know what that feels like. And I know what it feels like to be overwhelmed and exhausted and resentful and actually lacking meaning. Now, when I'm filled up, it feels very meaningful to me to be of service in a way that didn't before. So I feel like it's more sustainable, right? This giving, this compassion, this love, that's what I'm all about. And so it's so wonderful to include myself in all of that. It just makes a world of difference. And I've seen what a difference it's made in so many of my clients' lives. It's just tremendous, the shift in that thinking, the shift in that belief, and the ongoing self-nurturing practices.
Yeah, and something you just said really, really spoke to me. It was about when we say yes to ourselves, we're not saying no. We're not pushing away, we are bringing ourselves into the circle. Like I got such an energetic hit on that, because a lot of times we feel guilty and we go the other way. I'm doing everything I need to take care of me. And then we alienate or push away, but we have to be in balance. And your words just really beautifully hit me of, I've had that tendency before to go, nope, I'm going the opposite way now. And then I wasn't fully in my relationships. So thank you for identifying.
Yeah. And I think that's because of scarcity mindset. When we are completely empty, we do come from a place of scarcity, right? We're like, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough this. I don't have enough that. I'm not enough, all of those things. So I really honor how easy it is to get in that place. Well, now I just have to take care of myself. So for me, it's about, well, how do you integrate it in your whole life? Like I write a lot about how do you integrate it with your family? How do you integrate it in these other places where everybody values nurturing and caring for themselves, at either solo or in community, which there's so many ways we can do that. So then it doesn't become an either or, it's a both and. I'm really about a both and solution to things, because I think that's what brings us to wholeness, right? We don't have to be one thing or the other. Most of us have a deep sense of need for belonging and connection and all of these things for our health and well-being. When we include ourselves, it just allows us all to have that.
This is so beautiful. And I can't wait, because you're about to share some strategies, but you shared so much wisdom just in the first conversation. I'm like, I know everybody's taking notes. So let's talk about, you have some strategies you want to share. I rather call them practices, because they're sacred practices. So what's the first one you would like to share?
So the first one is to listen to our needs. So really cultivating practices throughout the day to tune in. That could be, I love the stop analogy. It's stop, take a breath, observe, and then proceed. So you have this little moment. Maybe it's when you go to get something to eat, like you plug it into a habit you already have. Maybe it's when you use the restroom. Maybe it's when you, before you respond to a text message, you just tune in. So it's really creating mini moments to tune in and simply ask yourself 3 questions. What am I feeling? What do I need right now? And what's one thing I could do to support myself, right? What's one nurturing practice? You might not get to do it right then, but just to tune in, start to notice. And so I think having these practices are key throughout the day. Like I start, and I think you do too, I start my day not picking up my phone, not doing something that would pull my attention outside of myself, because that's very easy. And if we have kids and if you have other things, that might happen. So you might have to put your alarm on a few minutes early to do this. But just to tune in, I tune in to how I'm feeling. I do some meditation. I set some intentions for myself for the day. So I'm starting out in relationship with myself. Before then, I reach out to be engaged in my life, whether it's through my phone or with my family or whatever. So starting the day in some way to tune in is really helpful. Ending the day, how am I feeling? How was the day? What things can I acknowledge myself for? Right? So this sense of like, wow, I took some steps today, to care for myself. And so really acknowledging that. At the end of the day, but then 1 or 2 other times during the day. For some folks that are working outside the home, maybe before they walk in and start engaging with their family, they tune into themselves. So you're just having practices to include yourself in your relationships, in whatever way. And sometimes we do that as with friends, right? Like you might have a practice of driving home and you call a friend like, hey, how was your day? Like, how are you feeling today? What do you need? And then you share that with your friend. Like having accountability partners in this practice of changing our habits can be so helpful. So there's lots of ways to do that.
And I love what you just said too about checking your energy before you walk in from your day, right? Because, we're in one energy, especially if we work outside the home. And we're in that energy and maybe some frustration, and just that stop analogy that you use is like, what energy do I want to bring in? So they can come back into their truth. So that one really resonated with me. So thank you.
Yeah. And I have another practice that people, I know you're going to share a free gift that I have, but called the arrival technique, that does that, but a little bit more deeply, where you're tuning into your breath, you're tuning into your body, you're noticing your thoughts, and then you're coming back to gratitude for yourself. So there's multiple practices, but that's another one that just gives you a little bit more expansiveness to be paying attention.
I love it. But the key to everything is learning to listen to ourselves. So thank you for sharing that strategy, because I think it's been key for me in starting the morning with myself and not allowing outside stuff to come in first. So thank you. And what's your second one?
Strategy? So my second one is choose something self-nurturing to do every day. Choose one practice that's nurturing to you every day that is a reflection of what you feel and what you need, right? So if I'm feeling anxious, Linda, I might say, you know what, this would be a day to go out and take a walk because I got it in my body. So I'm going to listen, and then I'm going to go take a walk. And if I don't have much time, it could be a 5-minute walk. If I have a longer time, it could be the longer loop, a 20-minute walk. But it's, again, having almost like an active demonstration to ourselves that we're listening. So there's the listening part, there's the hearing part, but then there's the listening part, which is then take it and do something with it. So one thing, it could, and in my book, I have, The Art of Self-Nurturing. I have all of these different strategies because there's times when we feel overwhelmed and it's hard to come up with one. So everybody could write 5 things down that they know really nurture them, really support them. So in those times they could go, okay, which of these 5 things, right, in this moment could be helpful. So choosing ongoing practices, and maybe something different every day, maybe something the same every day. Maybe it's bringing a sense of self-nurturing to something you already do, right? So if you already have a practice of doing something, and to really see it as an act of love and kindness and compassion for yourself, and then that elevates the experience, right? Even drinking water. If you said to yourself, I know I feel better when I drink more water, and you really acknowledge every time you think, I'm kind of thirsty. I need to drink some water. And you think, oh, that's being so loving and nurturing to myself. All of a sudden, drinking water is like this beautiful act of kindness and practice. Yeah.
It's one of our practices, and we started about 3 years ago when we built our intentional home, is when you love what you do, which I do, and I work from home, it's very easy to not have a transition time.
Yes.
To my couple time, right? So I was like, oh, because I love what I do and I could keep going. And finally I said, so now I see it is my self-nurturing practice. Myself and Dana created a ritual that about usually 3:30, we meet down on our dock and we sit there. But for me, as my self-nurturing practice, it closes out the energy of the day. So that's an example though, right? Yes. It's become a ritual. And it's my energetic way of, okay, work is done. I just enjoy being there. We usually talk about gratitude because how can you sit there and not? So the conversation goes that way. And sometimes we're just quiet. But that is my self-nurturing practice.
Well, and I love that you brought in intention, because intention is the thing that elevates anything that we do. If you bring intention to it becomes a practice, not just a habit.
Yeah, it's a practice for me because you're right.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And it feels good. And it became something because he's involved with it. Because I'd be happy being there by myself, but because we chose to do it together, it's also, he'll say, babe, 3:30. And I'm like, I'm there. There is no, well, 15 minutes. It's an honoring for both of us.
Yeah.
So it's become beautiful for myself. And when I have breaks in the middle of the day between client calls, I do the same thing. I go just sit, look at the water. That fills me back up to be of service to all my clients. So thank you for those reminders of that. I already do have intentional sacred practices in place. I have to say it's because of Kelley and our work together. So you've watched my journey of how over the last 7 years that we've known each other. So she has witnessed my journey of self-nurturing. So That's all due to her love and support too. So the third practice you'd like to share.
So the third practice is really about honoring our boundaries and being really intentional about looking at places that we want to say yes and looking at the places that we honor our need to say no. And recognizing that our life energy is, I think, our most like sacred, precious thing. And so really honoring where we're putting our life energy. And those times when we have super filled schedules and we say yes to one more thing, it actually doesn't serve what we're doing. And it's back to that whole idea that tuning in, like, do I have enough energy to say yes to this other volunteer act or client or whatever it is? Do I have the energy to do that so that I'm doing it in a way that feels that there's integrity, that I can be my authentic self, that I can really be of service, and really being okay saying no, knowing that it's creating space for something else. You know, it's creating space for us to step in some new way we wouldn't know if we just are always filling up everything around. And then those things we say yes to, there's magic around them. I feel like whether it's an act of service to somebody or going to spend time with friends, whatever it is, I believe when we honor our boundaries, it's the most powerful way to rebuild trust in ourselves, respect for ourselves, love for ourselves, and it teaches other people to do the same. If people know that I'm going to honor my own boundaries, for instance, like Fridays are days that I have creative writing time and some time with some women's groups that I'm connected to. So I don't make commitments on my Friday afternoons if that's what I'm going to do. And I actually put it in, I think this is a practice that you have as well, putting in your schedule, because this is a way of honoring our boundaries, is to put in our schedule. I have sacred self-nurturing, a block in the morning. I have other things blocked out so that I can honor my own boundaries. And I find other people are very respectful of them because I'm clear about it, right? Clarity is kindness, that Brene Brown, so important. When we're able to honor our boundaries, we, I think, build trust with other people and there's less pushback. If somebody asks me to do something and I say no, and they say, oh, please, please, Kelley, and they keep going on, and then I finally give in, then I'm also setting up a situation where people think, well, if I just put enough pressure, she'll give in, versus saying, and this is what I love to do. Right? I don't ever say no straight out to someone. I say, that sounds like a wonderful opportunity. I'm not available on Friday. What other day could we do that? So it's again focused on I'm honoring myself. If something I don't want to do, then maybe it would be a hard stop. No, thank you. I appreciate that, but that's not something I'd like to engage in. But otherwise, just really finding other ways of being our truest self, because when I am, people then are going to really know, like, wow, Kelley shows up. Kelley is really respectful. She's full of integrity, whatever, all the things that might be of value to me. I'm going to live those out when I'm honoring my boundaries. So I think boundaries are the thing that really demonstrates that we're honoring our needs and our feelings. It's like foundational.
All three practices that you shared, which are listening to yourself, choosing self-nurturing practices that honor your needs, and then learning to set healthy boundaries, are so powerful. And there's a simplicity to them that makes it doable for everyone, but it doesn't mean it's easy, right? You have to honor yourself and honor your needs and just start small. Just start where you are, ladies. That's what I did. I have transformed my life over 30 years. I know Kelley has been working with women for quite a long time through her private practice as well as organizations to help them honor their needs, set boundaries. So Kelley, I am so grateful that you circled up with me today, and I want to invite everyone about your free gift, but I wanted to say thank you. Thank you. You've been such a presence in my life. So I honor you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Linda. It's just really, I feel like it's a real true blessing to be able to get to share this message so that we all know how much we matter. Yeah. And that we start treating ourselves like we do.
Yeah. And it's so important. It's part of the work that I do in the world is to remind women of the truth of who they are. And so to have you sharing your wisdom and inspire. And of course, I have to show this. since I'm the publisher. This is the Art of Self-Nurturing, a field guide to living with more peace, joy, and meaning. It has lots of resources in there. And when you download the gift, next to this video is the button. Just click the button and you will have access to the Self-Nurturing Starter Kit. And it's for you if you're yearning to cultivate more peace, joy, and meaning in your life. And it includes a guided meditation, affirmations, permission slips, and I got to tell you, all this stuff is stunning, and beautiful breathe cards to encourage you to nurture the most important relationship you will ever have, the one with yourself. So be sure to get your Self-Nurturing Starter Kit, click the button, register, and then once you're over there, go check out Kelley's book and all her other programs and services that are there and coming. Again, Kelley, thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Linda.